Okay, so this is actually this is my first video ever for poker, and as you can see, I have my Hold'em Manager 2 here. It's pretty nice. I like this thing, and so basically, I need to get to. I have all these active sessions, as you can see. 1600, 2100, 1800 hands, 3000 hands in one session. So what I did is I went to the 1678 hands. I went to all hands, which basically it's not doing that because I have marked any. So what I did is I control clicked every single hand that was 20 big blinds or more, which generally speaking means I invested 10 big blinds, because most pots are not going to be multi-way. So as you can see, $2 is 20 big blinds of 5, 10, and 0. So I figured out, actually, this is new for me. I figured out if you right click and you hit replay all, replay all, it's going to basically set up like a little a 1 of 37, because 37 hands here, 1 of 37. So it's just going to basically go through all the hands, and we'll talk about them as we go. And yeah, as I said, this is my first video, and this is the first time that I'm actually in-depth reviewing every hand since I started back at poker here. I've played about 50,000 hands, and I only have 20,000 recorded from Hold'em Manager 2, because before I was using an application called Hold'em Indicator. So yeah, we have 20,000 hands and 450 hands to review. 450 hands out of 20,000 that are 10 big blinds invested. So let's get started here. My first video ever. Just bought my microphone today. It was 80% off at a blowout sale at a nearby Radio Shack. So I got this thing for like 12 bucks. It's just tiny. It's very, very small. Probably like a quarter of the size of my palm, but it's sitting on my desktop here, and it's working pretty fine after the test video. So this is full ring. We have King Jack suited on the button. Okay, this guy raises for 30 cents, and I don't really have any fish in the blinds here, as you can see. Not very fishy. I mean, that guy might be, I don't know, 22-8. Probably just passive. Okay, I decide to flat. 3-bet is fine. I could definitely 3-bet King Jack suited, and I think that my standard would in the future be to 3-bet King Jack suited. It's a nice flop. Okay. He leads. He c-bets for 50 cents, and I call. And I think this is standard because his bet flop is 40%. He's not going to be betting with a lot of air a lot of the time. I mean, he could have something like 9s, 10s, jacks, queens. He could even have a nut flush draw, because his range is going to be, I mean, it's what it is. Okay, so we bank a jack on the turn. And his bet is now 130 into 175. On the flop is 15 to 75. I think that's pretty much the same percentage bet. It's not like he's changing the percentage bet depending on the board. So, I mean, not really much we can do here. He might have something like Queen 10 of diamonds, Jack Queen, and I think the call is very standard here. Okay, so villain checks, and I bet 359. Now this is actually a really good run out because it really looks like I have a lot of draws that broke. All the diamonds broke, and well, villain folds, so you know I win the pot there. So yeah, I think 3-betting King Jack suited would have been the best plan, mainly because well, we have a squeezer here. I don't really want to get squeezed with King Jack suited. I just think that I misplayed that hand. Okay, next hand. We have pocket nines. It's 4-way, and yeah, let's get started here. 30 cents. My main opening from the button is 2.5 big blinds, and that's just kind of whatever. I do that because I think with some hands like pocket pairs or something like ace queen, something like king queen, I really get nervous when I get 3-bet, especially whenever I hold big hands, because I'm always concerned that they're going to have something like ace king and I'm just going to get dominated. And I also think that if you raise the blinds a little bit smaller and you get 3-bet, you do have a little bit more ways of defending. And you can also 4-bet light, because what happens is they 3-bet a little bit smaller. Like they're not going to be 3-betting to like $10 if you raise to 250 on the button. They might do it to like 750 to 8, something like that. And now if they have a very high 3-bet percentage, you can actually click the 3-bet percentage, and it'll tell you it'll tell you if they're 3-betting from the blinds or from the button very wide. I actually do enjoy 4-betting light. You can see that my 4-bet percentage is 14 here. Okay. So Grutis, looks like Grutis donks on the 5-8-5. Grutis checks, which means that he could have pretty big range, or like something weak like pocket 7s, pocket 6s. Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to get paid off. Grutis could even have an 8. So, oh, I folded that. 394. I think an 8's in his range here. He doesn't really have... This isn't really a good board to bluff, in my opinion, and I mean that's a pretty big shove right there. Gosh, 1.8 aggression factor, c-bet, fold turn, fold to 3-bet out of position. He doesn't really seem like he's out of line here with any of these stats. Of course, he could have well, okay, pocket 7s, pocket 6s, and pocket 7s. I don't think that there's any reason for him to shove that, which basically means that he could definitely have an 8 here. I think a fold is fine. Okay, next hand. Pocket jacks. Okay. Okay. I'm a little bit nervous about this one. Full ring. We have a 53-1, a 58-0. 38, 32. Okay, that guy, yeah, I remember him a little bit. Okay. Okay, what did I... So 60 cents here. 60 cents. I want to isolate. As played, they all call. Queen high board. So because they're 53-1, 58-0, there's really no indication of whether or not a queen is in their range. But the main thing to take from this is that they're probably limping 53% of their hands. I'm going to say limp fold is 8%. What does that mean? That he is going to be basically continuing with like 40-something% of his hands. That is a massive range. Things like Jack 8 suited, 6-8 suited, Ace X, basically any Ace X. Same for this guy over here. A bet. Wow. Oh, did I not bet that? Wow. I didn't bet the queen. I think that's a mandatory bet. Basically 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s, 5s, 4s. Any and all 6x. Any and all 3x. And a lot of Ace X are going to call one bet. And I think that was a terrible check behind for me. Okay, so as played, Jim Bob is betting into me. And I call. The ace hits the river, and I check. And he's got Jack King. A Jack King could even have called the flop bet there, because they have the king, and they have the diamonds, and basically, like, their hand is so pretty. They're going to think that their hand is so pretty, and they're not going to even think about what I'm doing, like, on this board. They have no idea, because they're huge fish. So I think that checking behind on the button was just horrible. Okay, we have Jack Ace. Jack Ace. We raised to 30 cents. And I get 3-bet by a 91.40. Oh, wait. No, I'm sorry. He's just basically shoving for the rest of his stack here. Oh, okay. So, okay. 46.25 guy calls. Well, okay, I'm not getting 4-bet or anything. So, oh, I remember this hand. I actually do remember this hand. So the 46.25 calls, and basically, these stats are really bad. I'm not being 4-bet. It's not like he's spazzing out with something like ace, queen, shoving. So I'm 90% confident that I think the jam is the perfect play here. Oh, okay. So folds. Jack 8 ace. Okay. So back to Vorm 4x. I think that a lot of the range that they're going to have is something like suited aces, something like pretty hands like Jack Queen suited, Jack King suited, King Queen suited, King Queen off. Basically big cards that are afraid to shove. Pretty much, I would say most pocket pairs. Something like 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5 may not have called that. But you never know. It's 46-25. And there are also a lot of other hands that are like, just again, pretty hands like 8-7 suited. And because Vorm Forex has a 15.4% 3-bet percentage so far, I would assume that the stronger range would have shoved or 4-bet. So I'm really happy shoving Jack Ace there. Okay, sorry. Next hand. Oh, Ace is on the next one. So we have 10 Ace, and this is big blind. We've got a same thing, 53-1, 58-0. Okay. So I'm sorry, these are kind of in the way a little bit here. Put that over here. Maybe if I go full screen. Yeah, I think I'll go full screen here. There we go. Sorry guys, my first video, I wasn't even thinking that I could go full screen here. And now these things are all kind of messed up. So put that one over here. Put that one here. I'll put that one up here. Like this. And okay, so mine can go right here, and then this one can go right here, like that. Okay, so we have a 53-1, a 58-0, 38-32, 26-17. You know, there's so many fish at these limits, it's ridiculous. So yeah, I hope I squeeze here. No, I don't squeeze. I would absolutely have loved a squeeze by me, because Nick is going to be incredibly wide, probably like a 30% open range. US Jim Bob would probably call, and Glad is probably not going to continue. I would have liked to have squeezed this up to something like 250. But as played, I call. Makes it very difficult to play 10 ace off in a 4-way pot. But again, this is because I'm a donkey, and this is me kind of just getting used to playing poker again. And probably I was 8 tabling, maybe even 9, 10 tabling. I was actually 10 tabling. So I lead out with mid pair. Basically, I just want to clear the field, and then if I face resistance, I'll just figure out what to do. Okay, so when Jim Bob calls, I'm not really worried about anything beating me, because like anything's gonna call basically. There's just massive range here. So let's talk about Glad. Glad could be calling something that he didn't squeeze with. Jack King off. That's like what, 16 combos right there. A worse 10x, pocket 9s, pocket 8s, ace jack. Yeah, so I don't think that I don't think that I should be betting. So it looks like I checked the turn. I checked the river as well. I think that I could have gone for a value bet on the river here. I think that I think Jim Bob would have called a very wide range, something like pocket 9s, something like 8 jack maybe would call. Most 10x is going to call, and by this time I don't think Glad has a queen, but maybe like a very weak queen, something like queen 9 suited. But I think I definitely missed value on that hand. I should have bet, I think I would have bet like $2 basically. you know, just to get a call. So we have ace-ace four-way. Okay, standard. Oh, okay. So this player calls my 3-bet, just cold calls it, basically. Out of position from the small blind, 32-10 out of 50 hands. So, I mean, I'm happy. I'm in position with ace-ace. I have people calling me. And how much of a stack do I have here? 8. So basically I have like $8 left. Okay. So, check. What? What the hell? How did I check that? Okay, that must have been a misclick. I don't know what I'm doing there. This is just embarrassing. That is like the most obvious bet ever. There's like 200 combinations that this guy would have called me with. Okay, so basically, I must have been like timing out on some table, and then I come back and just, you know, quickly check. Calls. Nice. Okay, so let's talk about my shove. 10-7-3-2. It's possible that Royal 1947 might just call me because he doesn't believe me. But of course the ace combinations have been taken out. He doesn't have a lot of aces in his range here. Might not even have a 10 based off how it was played, because as you can see, he check calls the turn. I think probably what I'm gonna think is that he either has complete air, or I think even a 7x might have bet the turn, because it's like a mid pair to them and they're not really thinking. I'm not really showing much strength at all. So I'm thinking like either go big or go home. And actually I don't really mind the shove, to be honest, because it is possible, of course, for Royal to have an ace. And if he had an ace, he'd probably snap me off because it's, you know, 32-10. Could have even had 3 ace, 2 ace by that time. Okay, next hand. Eights. Okay, we have 30 more hands to go here. And, wait, what happened? Okay. Call, standard. Everything's very standard. And I donk. Basically, I like to donk in this spot because if Nick has something like complete air and checks back, something like, let's say, ace 5, ace 7, 7-8, pocket sixes, Jack, Queen of clubs. Well, okay, the bet flop is 80%, but at the same time, it is possible that Nick checks back. What I really want to do, I want to get value from this player right here. So Royal 1947 is a fish, pretty much, as you can see. And so the way that the action went, this Nick raises, we both call. And Royal has no reason to bet. At this point, he's just going to check to let Nick bet. If Nick does not bet, then I lose value against Royal 1947. Now, of course, there's something like 10-10, Jack-Jack that has me beat. All the 9x have me beat. But that's really not a lot of combinations compared to the enormous combinations that are available for Royal 1947. All the clubs, suited clubs, suited hearts too that are stronger, like Jack 10 with suited hearts are going to call. And sixes, Even fours. Fours might even call one time. 8. Okay, so I see no reason not to bet. I don't really want to scare them away at this point. But I really think that I could have gone bigger. I could have gone a lot bigger. Could have gone around like $1.10. This is terrible, I think. 70 cents is just terrible. 9x, 7, 5, like anything really. Like clubs are still going to continue. 7, 8, 9, Jack Queen of clubs. Could even have an 8x by now. I'm not really going to be concerned about a straight. I mean, if I get shoved on or raised, then I can just kind of check call the river. Oof, okay. Actually, the river bet here, as played, the river bet, I think is pretty nice. It's a pretty nice bet. 6s and 10s, of course, have me beat. I can easily fold to a shove. But as played, okay, it's kind of weird. It doesn't really show his hand here. But I win the pot. So as you can see, there's plenty of hands that Royal could be calling with that don't have a 6 or a 10 in it. So my turn bet should have been bigger. My river bet, half pot, I think is fine. King, queen. Okay. Yeah, I'm raising to 35 cents because I'm kind of just testing it out a little bit to see what happens if I raise it a little bit bigger than 30 cents, like 3x, 3.5x. I was playing around with 4x a little bit at the 2NL games. So 29.14. Pocket pairs. Pretty hands, pretty suited connectors. Broadway cards. This is an obvious bet. I would have gone a little bit bigger if I was thinking about the perfect sizing. Any worse, king is going to call. Jack X is going to call. All spades are going to call. 10 queen is going to call. Ace 10 is going to call. Pocket 10s, pocket 9s are going to call. A bigger bet. I think 65 cents to 70 cents would have been better. This is a bad sizing. Very bad sizing right here. Okay, so they call. Again, I mean, I really don't mind barreling when there's a card over my pair, because again, there's going to be a huge range of hands that Tug of Fish is going to call with here. Again, Jack Queen, King 10, King 10, Jack Queen, Jack 10, pretty much every spade combo, every club combo. Pocket 10s might call, pocket queens might call, because the 3-bet percentage are so low. I mean, pocket queens is easily within the range here, the combinations. So 90 cents. I think 90 cents is a fairly good bet size here. As played, I get min raised. And at this point, I could probably find a fold. I call. Ace, Jack. Yeah, so the check min raise on the turn, because he's so passive. 0% 3-bet, 0% 4-bet, bet flop and bet turn. Stats aren't really up yet. Fold flop is 29%. Basically means that they're, you know, pretty passive. Fold to steal, pretty passive. Okay, next hand, 10 ace. I open from the button. Royal calls me. And it looks like I get dunked into for half pot on a queen 10-9 board. Obviously, I'm not going to fold. It's a nice turn card. So at this point, I think that there's a lot of 10x. Queen X that I have absolutely crushed right now. Okay, so he check calls, he checks, and he calls. Okay, I actually don't mind my bet sizings here. It looks like he's clearly afraid of the ace. The ace is a scare card for a lot of new players that don't really understand how to read boards, but also the club, the flush, and like it just looks kind of scary. It's a scary looking board, you know. A Queen X is going to check call basically. Jacks might be check calling here. So half pots, I think that was well played by me. Okay, we have 5-7 suited. Robot Kid is raising 18-12, and I wouldn't normally call with 5-7, but then this player calls the 46-32, and we don't really have any. Oh, actually, this player Sick Fish might be a strong squeezer, but I'm not really sure how many people are using a HUD. I don't think many people would be squeezing an 18-12. So as played, I call. I really want to play against this guy. We're a little bit deeper too. Robot Kid, bet flop of 29%. Basically isn't going to be putting a lot of money into the pot unless you have something strong. But nuts full, pretty fishy. And as played, I flop a really nice hand here. What is this? This is a double gutter with a flush draw. So I'm going to be going balls deep here. The reason I choose 67 cents is because Robot Kid, I think if they had an overpair like queens, kings, aces, jacks, they would most likely bet it. And nuts full could have like anything basically. Ace 2 offsuit, Jack 8 suited, Jack 8 of spades that are just not going to want to keep calling on that board. So at this point, Robot Kid, I'm a little bit nervous, but as played, I bank the flush. Boom! Looks like, okay, so I'm increasing my bet size here. Robot Kid is, oh, I got raised. Oh, that sucks. Oh. Okay, wait a second. Oh, what am I doing here? Actually, I think that my fold is really not that bad, because Robot Kid, as you see, fold flop of 86%. That's huge. 29% bet flop, 4.2% 3-bet percentage, 18-12, 1.1 aggression factor. This guy is like, he's not going to be messing around. Especially whenever there's two people here. This guy could easily have a flush, and Robot Kid is not going to be an idiot. Like, you know, I think most of the time nits are not complete idiots. They're like average level thinkers that are just a little bit passive. So when I get raised into on this board, after I increase my bet sizing, I think that a fold is safe, but I don't know. I think yeah, it's whatever. I think a fold is fine. So we have X crazy. Okay, standard. Okay, wait. 38 into 60. Every 10x is going to call. Diamonds are going to call. Jack queen, king jack, pocket jacks, pocket Nines might even call. Worse aces are calling. Flop bet. So 50 cents, 45 cents, I think would have been better. A little bit bigger than 38. 38. I gotta stop doing this like 70% default. Calls. 79 cents into 136. At this point, I don't think that a 10x is going to want to be calling very much anymore unless they have something like 10 king of diamonds or a 10 with a queen of diamonds. Something like jack king with a king of diamonds. Queen jack with a queen of diamonds. Maybe wants to call again. Again, almost every ace is going to call. Ace 9, ace 8. So I think I could have gone a little bit bigger here too. Like not too big, but like maybe like 90 cents. Maybe $1. $1. So he calls. Pot is 294. And I think that a bet fold is going to be good here. So I bet for like half pot. It's pretty. I like that bet because by this time, a 10x is not going to call again. All the Broadway draws broke. So the only thing that's going to actually call me here is an ace. But even a weaker ace is not going to really want to call a big bet. Something like ace 5, ace 7, ace 8 is not going to really want to call a big bet. So, as played, the guy didn't 3-bet ace king, which is kind of interesting. You know, I lose this hand, it's whatever. Yeah. I really don't think I should have checked anywhere. I'm not ever really the kind of player that's scared of a flush, because flush combos, especially whenever they're just calling basically like they're calling a blind, they're not really 3-betting the blind. I think that is blind versus blind. They're going to be defending a little bit wider because it's just the psychology of blind versus blind. And the board really isn't that scary at all. Like really, it's not that scary. Ace 10 I would have suspected would be raising me. Ace 3 would be raising me. The diamond draw could have actually raised me like on the flop. So basically like, yeah, I think I played that hand fine. Ace queen again. Okay. Oh, okay, Serpico limped into my blind here. And so I raise, he calls. Okay, I bet, fine, everything's fine. Here, I don't really need to be betting too big because he only has 247, 260 something, whatever, in the stack. And I don't need to be betting too big on the flop to build the pot big enough to take his chips. So 38 cents is fine. Fine, again, everything's fine. I bet. He calls. He could be calling with worse ace. Maybe even a king. Something like, okay, any suited kings that has clubs is going to be calling his bet. And then as played, okay. Actually, I think I could have folded. 24-7 is not very aggressive. The guy has not been showing any aggression so far throughout the hand. I think that stronger hands like King Queen, King Queen is probably not going to might not shove the river here because of the way it ran out. Like clubs, if I have a jack, if I have clubs, I win. ace 10, ace 7, ace king, ace queen. There's like a ton of combinations that I have beat if this player got to the river with something like king queen or queen 10 or something like that. I think a worse ace, if they got to the river, something like ace 9, a worse ace might actually shove to basically say like, I'm going to attempt to turn my hand into a bluff. But I don't think that this type of player is going to do something like that. So I think that I could have folded the ace queen here. I think that I think I should have folded. Yeah, I think I should have folded that. Okay, next hand, king queen suited. We have we have a limper, 67-22. Okay, imagine that. Limp fold percentage of 20, meaning that they're going to be continuing with like, what, 40, 50% of their hands, like massive amount of hands. I'm so bad with math, guys. Like, if you tell me that the limp fold percentage is 20, and they do 67-22, I would just, my first inclination is just to think that it's 20% of 67. You know, still, it's huge range, meaning that I can jam this for like 50, 60, 70 cents maybe. This is the kind of player that, when I'm at a table with this type of a player, and I wouldn't really say I have like position on them, they're on the opposite side of the table, but there are a lot of times where I will have position on them. Well, you have a 51-21 over here. It's pretty nice. What I would do is, with my value hands, I would continue increasing the isolation size bigger and bigger and bigger. And something like king 9 suited, queen 10 suited, ace 6 off, these are all hands that I would be extremely happy jacking up the pot, even out of position, versus this player, because something like 6-7 might hit and I'll have ace 6. Something like a queen 8-2 might flop, and I might have queen 10, and this player will have something like 8-9 mid pair, and I'll be able to just destroy them because they're not going to be folding their mid pair. Even something like 8 queen suited, 8 queen off, I would still want to isolate this limper. And I know that this is something that a lot of players that are new, that are uncomfortable with the idea of getting super aggressive and isolating with something like queen 8 or something like ace 6 off. But if you think about this player's entire range, you're going to be crushing their range. Even something like jack 9 suited, raise it up to 70-80 cents. Basically to get an idea of how much pressure you're going to have to give them before they fold pre-flop. And again, this is 10 NL, and we're deep stacked as well. So I want to build the pot up very big with this type of player. So as played, I'm only going to c-bet a little bit. It's a little bit less than what I normally do because I kind of just want to win the pot right here. And this player will continue with a huge range to begin with, any hearts. A lot of things like king 9, jack 9 of clubs, things like that will continue. I think that this might actually be even a value bet versus this player on this board. So as played, so when I hit the queen and it's a queen 7-5-3, this board is very dry. And there are probably over 100 combinations that are going to call a bigger bet here. This is a very bad sizing for me. A worse queen, queen jack, queen 10 would call. I would like to have gone to about 170, maybe 180. Okay, so as played, I get min raised. I'm definitely not going to be going anywhere. I check, check. And this player wins with queen 5. I think if I faced a river bet, so if I face a river bet of like $3 something, $4, $4.50, a pot bet, I would be folding because this player isn't showing to be super aggressive. And but I think, of course, on the turn, I don't think that I'm going to be able to fold to a min raise because, I mean, even if I know that I'm beat, if they have something like 7-5, 5-3, queen 7, queen 5, I still have a king out and I still have a queen to get a better 2 pair. And also they could just be kind of min raising with like queen jack of hearts, something like that. So it's obviously a pretty standard call, I think. Okay, next hand, queens under the gun. I raised to 35, I get called, and 27-16. So whenever I raise under the gun and I get called by the button, I think a lot of broadways are in the range. Strong aces like ace 10, ace jack, ace 9 suited. Pocket pairs, 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s, 10s are going to be continuing. So I would like to have gone a little bit bigger. 60 cents, 65 cents would have been a better bet on this board for value. This is like not a very scary turn card. And I don't really know if FX Crazy is the type of player to raise turns with something like ace, there's something like an ace 5 with a club, ace of clubs, or ace 9. Let's say something like ace 9, ace 10 with an ace of clubs. So as you can see, I get raised. And I don't really have any clubs to continue with. And this player could have something like ace 5 suited. 2, 3, 5, 6, 5, 6 suited. I would sometimes call 5, 6 suited versus an under the gun range when we're a little bit deeper as well. The range I think here is going to open up a little bit bigger than normal because we are a little bit deeper, and this player has to know that. And of course, there's huge fish in the blinds here. So as played, I think that I could find a fold here, unless I know that this player plays back at me in position. Okay, so as played, I call. What happens here? Oh, okay, look. Oh, this is sweet. So I have a boat now, and basically anything that this guy had, I'm just crushing. So as played, I bet out. I donk. I really don't think that they're going to be calling me with a flush. They're not going to be calling me with a straight. But they might just be like pissed and be like, okay, I'm gonna call because like this is ridiculous. Like they got a boat. Like this is stupid. They might call me. You never know. But if I don't bet, then they're going to check back their flushes. They're going to check back everything, basically. And, I mean, they might even call with something like jacks, tens, you know. But you have to bet. This is a spot where I think it's pretty much a mandatory bet, because this player isn't going to be betting any value hands, and probably not going to be bluffing either, because I'm showing a lot of strength. Next hand, Queen Ace on the button. Okay, so min opens 34-8, 27-16. Has played. I don't want to 3-bet too big, because I do want to keep weaker range in the hand. This is a perfect board for me to double barrel. I would be double barreling this like 100% of the time, and it's usually never exploitable in my opinion, because my 3-bet range is not, my 3-bet percentage is not very high, and this hits my range very, very nicely. So I'm going to be betting. I'm going to be betting a little bit smaller on this board to decrease the amount of money that I need to bluff. And then here I'm going to bet a little bit bigger. Yeah. And I get jammed on. So that sucks. And I fold. Okay. Next hand. Queen Jack suited. And I flat. So we have a 34-24 in the blinds. 13-12 isn't really going to be doing much. So I'm not really worried about him. I want to play in a pot with Grutus. And this Doogie is looking fairly weak as well, 29-14. Okay, so that's a nice flop. It's not like a brilliant flop, but I'll take it. I'm not going to go anywhere. Okay, it's a nice turn card. I'm going to bet. Looks like I bet. So Grutus is going to be continuing with a massive range here. Any 9x, any 8, 10, 9, 10, Jack, 9 Queen, 8 Queen, pocket 10s, a lot of diamonds are going to call, 8 Ace, 9 Ace might call, huge. I think that I could have bet a bit bigger as well, because Doogie pretty much gave up. I mean, Doogie could have something like Queens or like a Jack Ace, but I think I'd rather take the chance to make money off of Grutus and just kind of hope that Doogie gave up with like Ace X or pocket 10s or something like 9X. So I think that my bet here should have been bigger, around like 160. Grutus would have called 160, 170. So I don't really like the call by Doogie. That call sort of bothers me a little bit, and it makes me feel like there could be like a stronger Jack, or like a Jack Queen that we chop with. Jack 10, Jack 9, Jack 8 all have me beat. Probably he's not opening Jack 7. I think that betting, I hope that I wouldn't be betting the river here. Okay, it doesn't really show what they have again. I don't know why it keeps doing that. Sometimes it shows and sometimes it doesn't. Or, oh, you know why? It's because, I think it's because there was no river bet made. If there's a river bet, it's if I bet and Grutus calls and Doogie calls, then it would show their cards. So I missed value on a bet sizing on that hand. Let me just check to see how much time there is left in this video, because I don't really know how long this is going for. 55 minutes already. Okay. So we have 9-9. And this is 17 out of 37 hands. We have pocket nines and okay, so 74-24, and it's actually the cutoff. This player could be raising a very, very wide range here. Very wide range. And there's really no super fish in the blinds here. And I think a 3-bet should have been pretty mandatory by me. I think it should have been a mandatory 3-bet with nines. Nines are a very strong hand, and certain boards you can actually barrel pretty nicely. Something like 7-5-2 with 2 hearts. Something like 10-7-4 with 2 of a certain color. So I would have gone to around 80 cents for value against this player. I don't know why I flatted. That was pretty bad of me, in my opinion. 20 cents into 55. I'm gonna call, probably fold, and as played I bank the turn here, which is pretty amazing. So his bet is the same percentage of the pot as it was before on the flop. At this point, this player either has an ace or they have a draw or they have air. So at this point, raising very, very big is going to be the best play, because if they're on a draw, they're going to call. If they have an ace, they're going to call. And if they have air, they're going to fold. And the amount of times that they triple barrel bluff the river with air is going to be less profit than if I raise and then bet the river and have them call again. So here I would love to see myself raise very big, and I would like to go to about $2. And okay, so as played I go to 210, and this player calls, and they donk the river for 150 after the board runs out very safely for me. Backdoor flush probably didn't get there, and I jam and they fold. Very standard. We have ace jack off in the small blind here. So min open from de mortem, I'm going to 3-bet for value my ace jack, and this player calls. So I'm very happy. Oh, okay, so I just jammed basically for 311. Any worse jack might call. There are a lot of Broadway cards that call. Queens. Even like some random ace X might call because he's a fish. So as played, he calls ace. Oh, look, see, ace queen calls. Remember, this is the first time that I'm seeing these hands since I played them. So I like to talk about what I feel I should be doing. Sometimes I see that I do it like before with the nines. I would say that I think $2 is a good raise. And then I see that I raised to 210. So a lot of the times I am making what I feel is like the optimal play. And then as you can see in this video, many times I am failing to process the information correctly. And again, this is because I have been 8 to 10 tabling 10 NL, and I have also recently come back to poker fresh. And I think that when you take about a 6-month break from poker, I don't think that you're going to be as sharp as you used to be. I'm not really used to 8 to 10 tabling either. But as you can see, I give an argument for my lines, and you need to be able to be objective about how you play your own game. I'm not very stubborn. I'm not really a stubborn player. I'm not going to get into spots just because like I get raised and I'm like, well, F you fish. Like, screw you. I'm going to call you. Like, if you have a set, sucks to be me. Like, I don't really think that way. And I really do think that it's very important to be very critical of yourself in order to improve. To be able to tell yourself that you suck. To be able to tell yourself that you're failing to make the best decisions, that you're embarrassed. Some of these plays, like, I would say, oh God, like, this is embarrassing. I should never have done that. It looks like my video here has gone to about an hour now, and it's 18 hands in. I think in the future I can probably do like 15 hand review sessions, maybe like 15 hands at a time, so that we can actually go through the hands a little bit more in detail, and maybe even use some Equilab and things like that when the spots get a little bit more tough, because these are being reviewed from the smallest pot to the biggest pot per session. So as you can see, I think that these pots, yeah, because you only have $3. These are going from the smallest to the biggest. So this was like the first 18 hands of like the smallest 20 big blinds for the session. So I'm going to end the video now, and thank you guys, and appreciate anybody who subscribes. Comment on my videos. Tell me that I'm a donkey. Tell me that I need to improve. Just you can, like, just kind of like dig in a little bit if you want to, or you can tell me if these videos are helping you. I always want to be able to help out new players. So peace out everyone, and good luck at the tables.